Hi, all. It's Randy here today on the Product Experience, and we're chatting with a true legend in the world of Product Tank. Nacho Bassino co founded Product Tank Cancun. He helped run the Product Tank in Buenos Aires, and he's now the regional coordinator for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. He's also been a CPO and a product leader for a long time, and he's now making his living as a coach and consultant out of Barcelona. We had a chance to sit down in Berlin earlier this year and had a great chat about the difference between keeping busy and doing the work that actually matters. Nacho, it's great to see you. It's been a long time since you've been on the podcast, and we're here live in Berlin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you.
For people who don't remember you from your last appearance, because it was a while ago, can you just give us a quick introduction again? What are you doing these days, and how did you get into product-led in the first place?
I get into product, and what I would call it the traditional way, but I'm not sure if that's true.
By accident?
Yeah, exactly. So I started as a software engineer, then Agile was a big thing, and I find this product owner role that I think was interesting because people was deciding what we need to build, and I didn't understand how we were making the decisions. So hey, maybe this product owner role is what I need to do. And I found out that I knew nothing about it, but then I eventually learned how to do it. And I've been in product management for almost 2 decades now. I've been leading product teams in different industries, even different continents. And what I'm doing now is switch to coaching product leaders and even within companies to improve their practices and to have more impact with the products they do.
Fantastic. So you have a really good vantage point for the topic we're going to talk about today, which is, there was a hype cycle or more of a business cycle with the rise of product management over the past 10, 15 years, where every company had to have a product team and you had to be product-led because that's the way the best companies worked.
Yes.
I think some of them are over it now. We're starting to get a little challenge to actually show results, which the best companies always did, but now everyone else is catching up. What are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the challenge that we faced was that we hire a lot of people either from this more, as I was talking before, this agile product owner role, which is not really product management, and some of the amount of teams and the amount of money we can invest in product development and the growth we saw in that led to people being sit in that chair without really knowing what they need to deliver. And now that's being challenged because we have budget constraints, which makes a lot of sense. So I think it's a positive trend, but has a lot of challenge for many product people out there.
So we see it in things like Brian Chesky talking about this at Airbnb, which I think it was widely misinterpreted because he actually didn't fire anybody and he put product managers back into a business role and actually controlling, looking at outcomes rather than outputs. What are you seeing good companies do?
Yeah, actually, I think the way I like to frame it is more like what Marty Kagan wrote recently, more like the product management theater. This difference of, hey, I'm called product manager, product owner, whatever title you have, but you are mostly project managing. You are kind of getting requests and trying to find a way through and collaborating with the teams. So I think maybe going back to what you're saying, the big trend is about, okay, now we need to be very conscious about the impact that we are having with the team that we are managing, or the resources we are managing, the budget we are managing. And that's where I see that most senior product people and product leaders even are having a hard time making that connection from the output that we are delivering to the business impact that the business want to see.
So let's get into that, but let's start with the beginning. We recruit people, we take people from inside the business, we throw them on a certified Scrum product owner course or something else. They come to us, we teach them Lean, we teach them Agile, we teach them Scrum, and we say, go do it. And we say, do discovery, create a backlog, create a roadmap. Are we missing a key point in this? Are people doing good practice, or are they actually doing a good job?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that we need to be mostly cautious about is that we are delivering. So the role is about prioritizing that we are doing the most important job at any point in time. But the thing is that we need to make sure that that is delivering the right business impact. And that's the connection that we are mostly forgetting or even not being pressed to do in the past. And now this is becoming more relevant and more thoughtful for product people.
So why are we not? Why isn't the default that we are actually trying to deliver business impact or actually succeeding in delivering it?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure about the situation. It may be different in different companies, but I think that first of all was an expectation of the role. If you come from, say, SAFe, just to mention one agile framework, you're basically project managing. So you're not expected to know, and then maybe it's the extreme, but not anything about the business impact. because someone decided what to do, and you are just responsible of delivering that. And that's quite different from an empowered product team in which you actually need to make sure that you are delivering to the constraints of the business and you are delivering value for the user, but also impact for business.
So if lots of product teams are organized around features, can you really prioritize business impact if your perspective is always trying to maximize a feature?
That's a good question, because the way, so I'm seeing a lot of this in the coaching I do, and many products really want to go away from that model. They kind of understand that the model is wrong, but they are facing the challenge of kind of going with their opinions, saying, hey, this feature doesn't make any sense, let's prioritize something different. And the way they need to actually do it to make sense for the business and to really be able to influence the stakeholders making these decisions is to be able to build a storytelling around, okay, this feature connects in this way to the value to the user and in this way to the impact we want to create in the business, and then compare it with other things that they may want to propose. So the way to be empowered and get out of the build trap or the feature factory or however you want to call it is to actually create the storytelling around the business impact and the opportunities that we are solving and present that in a way that stakeholders at different levels can understand. So it's not just throwing a product framework or an outcome-oriented roadmap, it's making them understand how we are thinking about this business impact of the connection.
Whose job is that? Because there's different viewpoints on this of being able to do it at the individual contributor, at the product manager or even the senior product manager level versus being in a leadership role.
Yeah.
Is it the role of the individual contributor, or is it more the job of the leader to do that, or it depends?
Good question. Yeah, I think that we can say it depends.
Yeah,
we should always say it depends.
I'm going to keep pushing you if you do.
No, but actually I do have a definition. But I think that if you think about, let's say, OKRs, just to put an example, if you think about company OKRs, company probably are aligning on this business impact they want to generate. We want to grow 20% revenues in this direction, this market, or whatever. But then if you see at the team level, they probably are focused on a user outcome. So what behavior we want to see change in the user, and that's what we are pushing for. So the connection there between the outcome, the user behavior we're changing, and the impact is probably the responsibility of the product leaders. And if we achieve this level of outcome, we are going to hit or not that target we are having as business impact. Of course, the independents come here because I think that senior product managers should be able to do this and should be able to bake it into the prioritization framework they're using. So I think that there is a gray line, so for leaders for sure, and I think that senior PMs must do it, and also it's something that will help them grow in their career.
But usually at the level of the individual product team, you're doing a piece of that. So you're contributing to one or more KPIs that, when combined with a bunch of other things, really influence the user journey and the user experience, and then maximize and get you that to really realize that objective.
Okay.
If you're doing a couple of them, but you miss on a couple, are you able to do this? Is this?
Yeah, I think that I will frame it in a different way.
Please.
And we are getting into how to solve it. But actually, if you think about what you are doing, you're solving problems, or let's say a customer problem, in a way that you enable them to do something new or to do something better or reduce the pain, and they will change their behavior. But if you have no idea how that connects to some business metric, then why you are even doing it? Maybe it's not the right pain to focus on. And that's where, for example, KPI trees can be very helpful, because again, I'm going back to what a senior PM must understand. If you do the business modeling and you understand how the business behaves and the metrics that, or the lower level metrics that influence this revenue, this churn, this monthly recurring revenue, whatever, this is the way in which you can understand that the outcome you are, or the customer behavior you are willing to change, will impact this business impact.
Okay, KPI trees are one of those things that always seem really obvious, but I'm amazed at how many people don't know them or haven't really used them. Can you give us a couple of minutes on a good usage, a good way of getting started, and some of the mistakes around KPI trees?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first one, for example, if you go to, this is another complaint about the tool, I love the tool, but if you go to Miro and you search for a template for a KPI tree, it will give you something like strategic and tactical and what other level. That's completely wrong. So KPI tree is simply, as the name indicates, it's a tree, and you start with, at the root of the tree, you start with the highest level metric that the business wants to move. So it can be revenue, can be driving down cost, can be monthly recurring revenue for SaaS companies, so depending on the company, can be different. But then what you want to build is a structure in which you say exactly which metrics are contributing to that higher level metric. So in this example is, for example, e-commerce, in which you have revenue, and then revenue is composed by visitors, conversion rate, and average transaction cost or value. And then you expand further by saying what other metrics contributes to this second level. So that's the way you build it, and that's the way you understand how the business model, in a way that what the little thing that the little KPI that you're changing here will actually influence the revenue.
And what mistakes do you see people making when they try and implement KPI trees?
Exactly this was saying, not following a tree logic. So saying, hey, I'm just kind of bunching KPIs. We'll list all the KPIs we can think of and try to see maybe this group together, more like an affinity grouping. And that's not the tree logic that we want to see.
So just a dashboard of numbers of interest rather than anything actually relating to each other.
And the other one that's interesting is that try to bake in what I call dimensions into the KPI tree. So if you want to, for example, let's say platform, iOS, Android, web. If you want to put that into a tree, what will happen is just kind of massive ramification. It will be mess. So these dimensions is something that if you keep the structure right, because the structure reflects the business modeling, these dimensions can go into a dashboard, and that's where you can actually see those numbers.
Okay, so now you've got, the reason I love this is it's a visual reference, and it's essentially a map.
Yeah.
And I love maps because people look at them and it's hard to argue with a map. Or you can argue with it, but at least you're arguing about something where the two people are arguing about the same thing, rather than when we just talk past each other and we think we both walk away from a conversation with different understandings.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, all artifacts that we use are about understanding and not about the artifact itself. So.
This episode is brought to you by Pendo, the only all-in-one product experience platform.
Do you find yourself bouncing around multiple tools to uncover what's happening inside your product?
In one simple platform, Pendo makes it easy to both answer critical questions about how users engage with your product and take action.
First, Pendo is built around product analytics, enabling you to deeply understand user behavior so you can make strategic optimizations.
Next, Pendo lets you deploy in-app guides that lead users through the actions that matter most.
Then, Pendo integrates user feedback so you can capture and analyze how people feel and what people want.
And a new thing in Pendo, session replays, a very cool way to experience your users' actual experiences.
There's a good reason over 10,000 companies use it today.
Visit pendo.io/podcast to create your free Pendo account today and try it yourself.
Want to take your product-led know-how a step further? Check out Pendo and Mind the Product's lineup of free certification courses led by product experts and designed to help you grow and advance in your career.
Learn more today at pendo.io/podcast. Okay, so what else do you have to do to be good at this, to make sure that you are keeping business impact at the heart of everything?
Yeah, absolutely. So I usually start, I would say the KPI tree is kind of my second step. I usually start with making sure that you understand the outcome that you are trying to achieve. And the way you do that is you probably give them a feature, as we were discussing before. And then for that feature, you need to understand the user problem. That's something that we are easily good at, so it's not super difficult. And then we're using the reverse order in which Teresa Torres described her opportunity solution tree. You can actually climb up that ladder and say, if I have this solution that hits this opportunity, will eventually hit this outcome or customer behavior, so you can understand actually what you are trying to achieve in the first place. And once you have that, you can connect that outcome, as we were discussing before, with the KPI tree. So let's say in an e-commerce, I want to build a new filter. Why I want to build a new filter? Because I want to solve the problem of users not finding particular items that they want to find. And this, what will drive is conversion. And if we map that to conversion, probably from results to detail, that would be the lower level metric that we're aiming for, you will be able to see how that scales up to revenue. So maybe to complete that, that's the first two steps. You build this reverse order of the opportunity tree, you build the KPI tree, but then what you need to do is to really come up with a real number you're expecting to see moving. So that's also something I see a lot of people failing to say, yes, will improve conversion. Okay, but how much? If you are going to make an investment, you need to have a hypothesis at least on how much you expect that to move that needle. So that's where I say that the KPI tree turns into a table that hopefully if you're a data-driven company, you have some sort of dashboard already out there, but if not, you can actually pull that numbers and what you say is, if I change this lower level metric and everything else remains the same, this is the impact I will have in revenue. And in that way, you can derive from your very little feature idea all the way up to the revenue you will generate, and that's how you can make a good decision if this thing that you're planning to do makes sense or not, in a language that the business will understand. So you're not talking about percentage tree, you're talking about revenue. And that's something that the CEO or any stakeholder will understand.
And this is just a tool to help you understand so you can communicate it better.
Exactly. The thing I always talk with people I coach is that what you are trying to do is not to impose your decision. It's like explain your logic and get input in a more structured way. Because again, going back to what you were saying, if we are all talking opinions, so we are kind of cutting through each other, we will not be able to fix the fundamental logics. Because at the end of the day, when you express it in that way and you get, say, negative feedback or contrarian feedback, what will happen is that the hypothesis you made has some basically ideas that are different from the mental model that your stakeholder has. And if you expose it in that way, they can pinpoint where they think you are wrong. And you will get much more valuable feedback than if you're just kind of doing this in an unstructured way.
One of the mistakes I see people make, and I'm not blaming them because I've definitely made this mistake and it's a really easy one to make, is you start to work on, you prioritize the things that you know you can do rather than things that need to be done. And you get defensive when people challenge you about it. Yes. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, actually, I always tell people that no matter how empowered you are, you're actually facilitating decisions. And at the end of the day, there are some decisions. For example, let's say that we are following this thread, and you have one opportunity that is reducing cost, and the other one is improving revenue. At the end of the day, as product manager, you probably don't have all the understanding of the business situation to make a decision. Maybe the CFO knows that, hey, we're running out of money, so we need to save cost. And that's something that, even if you think that the other is bigger or better, you need to have that input and this reality check. And so you need to let other people decide and be part of the decision you're making.
So what I think I hear you saying is that we're not the CEO of the product.
Oh, yes.
Tell me a little bit about doing that, about facilitating these decisions. What is the best way of doing it? What's the advice you give to people who are having trouble getting that across to other people?
Yeah, perfect. So the first thing is maybe to complete what I was saying, we get to an estimation of the impact you are trying to achieve. You also need to combine it with, for example, if you're using something like ice scoring, I don't want to promote that framework, but basically the confidence part of ice scoring is the one you expose what you're guessing or what you're betting on, and you are saying the level of risk you have in this impact you are expecting to achieve. So in that way, you start by opening the conversation and you are opening yourself for feedback. And then in terms of facilitating the discussion, we are in the best way or in the best position to present different scenarios or different options. So it's more about saying, hey, these are the scenarios. This is what I will suggest, but these are the other options. And you let people inform your decision making and also see the different options and make some decisions at the end of the day. So I think that way is what I usually end up with what I call strategic storytelling is let's build a pitch for how these options can evolve. And with these scenarios, you actually invite people to decide and to align on and to get the buy-in that you need.
So a lot of times we're doing our planning in advance. We're doing a lot of forecasting. We do annual budgets. We do things like that. And then things change. Yes. How do we handle that change? Because it's easy enough for me to say, right, something has changed in the world. A competitor has released something, an investment didn't come through. This is what I have to do at my level. But there are degrees of impact on other people. How do we deal with it, collaborate, communicate, and really make sure that we're still aimed in the right direction?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, it boils down to the level of change we are saying. So, for example, everyone wanted to do AI at the beginning of last year, maybe, this year still. So if that level of change is required and everyone needs to come up, probably you need to come up as an organization, as a product organization, and probably drop your roadmaps and start over again. So that level of change, I think, is more dramatic, and it goes back into the whole strategy building again. If you are having smaller changes across the organization, for example, let's say going back to what we were discussing before, if you see you have a very interesting learning from the users, and the users love your filter and you want to build more filters in our e-commerce example, and for that you need to collaborate with other teams, probably you need not only to change your plans, but also to change other people's plans. So I think that, first of all, if there is a regular cadence, like for example, a quarterly strategy review or quarterly OKR review, that's a great place to start. But again, what you need to build is this storytelling about why this is important and go back to kind of building what user problem you're solving, how it connects to the KPIs, what's the real number you're trying to achieve, and the confidence you have about it, so the user feedback you have about it, or the evidence you have about it, and then building the so what. So what's the scenarios? What if we do it, or what if we don't do it? And in a way, again, you facilitate the discussion.
One of the things that I can look back on earlier parts of my career that I know I didn't do as well at was, I was always looking ahead and seeing what did I need for the team to succeed in this. And lots of things had to break right, but I could also see 1,000 things that could break wrong. And I was always warning about all those things. So when, then you can get a reputation as Chicken Little and warning on saying the sky is falling, and you've lost trust of other people at that point. What's the right time to communicate? Do you communicate as soon as you see something? Do you communicate early in an OKR cycle? Do you only communicate at the end? Is there a good in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I like to think about it is, let's think about the scenario we were discussing before. You are in charge of deciding how the investment of one team or more teams, if you're a product leader, will develop over time. So let's say that's costly. It can be $500,000 maybe for a company over the year. So when you say my roadmap looks like this for the next 3 months, you are saying, hey, this is how I will invest company money in building these features to make this the return on investment I expect. The way you actually do it is, hopefully, start by doing discovery. So instead of investing all the money in building the feature, you will start by investing a little in doing some experiments. So that's what you need to communicate as soon as you have results. Well, let me add that. If there are changes coming from that discovery that you need to inform, that's where probably you need to be very proactive. If things are evolving as you expected, probably that's easier to do the checkings on the OKRs or other type of ceremonies that are existing.
And lots of people I work with, they still, no matter how empowered we try and make them, they're still working with people who expect that they're part of IT and they're a delivery function within the company. How do you build that relationship to communicate with people better and say, yes, I totally agree with you, this was the right strategy. However, this is what we've learned.
Yeah, I think that the challenge we have seen there goes back to this discussion we had at the beginning, that product people were doing this project management and they were not showing the value. Because at the end of the day, and I think Marty Caron says this in different words, there is no business stakeholder that if you propose something better that will drive more value for the company and maybe more bonus for them, will say no. So I think it's more about this scenario is more about the inability we have as product people to communicate, again, the impact for the business in a way that they can understand. They can see your logic behind. So once you have made it more practical, if you have this expectation, probably is this salesperson saying, hey, I need this feature to close the deal. And if you are able to say, hey, we are doing this feature, we are delaying this other thing, and this is how the business impact of those two options compare, that's where you can build them on board and make them part of the decision instead of just fighting and saying no.
Except where the challenge is that salesperson A wants to close a deal, and salesperson B or B, C, D, and E will all benefit from what you're doing, but you're screwing over A. And A is still not going to be happy, even if the deal is much better for everyone.
I mean, your role is not to make everyone happy, but actually I think that problem is not a problem for the product manager needs to be able to explain the situation.
Yes.
But that's a problem of the sales manager. Or
exactly. You need to escalate it up and have the support of people to do it.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you think about, we're abusing this scenario, but what happens is that we have a strategy, the strategy is focusing, for example, this customer segment, so everything we're building is to make this customer segment successful. And what may happen is that these salespeople got a lead from another segment. So they're trying to push in and deviate from the strategy, and that's something that the sales manager should handle.
So, Nacho, this has been fantastic. What's something that you would advise people listening to this or actually watching this? What can they start doing tomorrow? What's the first step for most people to get better at this, to prove that they are responsible owners of business impact?
Yeah. So I think that the logic I described is the logic I try to, because what people is afraid of is that this first seems like a lot of work. No, I will get into that in a second. And the second one is that they have no idea how to start. So that's why I describe it in a very pragmatic and sequential way, because it's easier to kind of remove the fear and know exactly what you're trying to do. So following this step of doing the reverse OST, so opportunity tree, doing the KPI tree, connecting both, and then building a table in which you can actually get to a real number. That's what all the elements you need to do it. And finally, what you need to start doing is start making that into your presentation. So if you are just, let's say you have a monthly report in which you are just reporting feature outputs, start by changing that. And you can do it. You can say, hey, given the progress we have and the feature we delivered, this is the impact we generated, and this is the impact we expect to generate from the other features. And if you start making this language into your presentations, into the discussions you have with stakeholders, showing them how you are coming up with that logic, I think that's something that you can start doing tomorrow. There's nothing preventing you from doing it, and you will start little by little elevating the conversation you have, winning more empowerment and delivering more impact for the company, which is what eventually will lead you to grow in your position and I would say secure your job. That's a bit too hard, more into the fear and the branch scheme and whatnot. But I guess that when we deliver value, of course, your job is not at risk. So
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nacho.
love it. Thank you.
The Product Experience hosts are me, Lily Smith, host by night and Chief Product Officer by day.
And me, Randy Silver, also host by night. And I spend my days working with product and leadership teams, helping their teams to do amazing work.
Luran Pratt is our producer and Luke Smith is our editor.
And our theme music is from product community legend Arnie Kittler's band, POW. Thanks to them for letting us use their track.